I hope you're ready to dive way too deep into this Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime performance. I didn't want to be the first person to get my analysis out there. I wanted to let the performance sit with me for a while. I wanted to listen to other people's commentary. I wanted to see the reactions from Democrats, from Republicans, from leftists. I wanted to see the reactions from Drake fans, Kendrick fans that were disappointed, Kendrick fans that were excited. I wanted to let everybody's ideas sit with me. I wanted to read the far out there fan theories. I wanted to read the celebrities' reactions. And I wanted to connect other Kendrick Lamar songs to this performance. So I hope that this video is comprehensive. In summary, I believe this Super Bowl halftime performance was Kendrick taking us on a journey of a black person trying to make it in America. I believe this is portrayed through the set list, Uncle Sam's commentary, and the video game motifs. Also, fuck Drake. I believe that he is looking to further conversation and provoke critical thought. I do not believe that this is a radical call for revolution, but I do believe that this performance pushes us in that direction through the conversations that we have behind it. To put this Super Bowl halftime show into perspective, it's the first time that a rapper has headlined the event. It's the first Super Bowl that a sitting president has attended. And this halftime show ended up getting more views than Michael Jackson's. And it's like the second or third most viewed event in American history behind the moon landing. So you got the biggest stage in America. The president is in attendance. All eyes are on you. What are you gonna do with that platform? A lot of people are of the opinion that because the NFL is a propaganda machine, because this is a corporate sponsored stage, that this is peak capitalism, you can't get off a legitimate statement, a legitimate message for revolution because you're being censored, you're being sponsored. This is being allowed to happen. Is it truly resistance? Or are you co-opting radical ideology for entertainment? Are you co-opting radical ideology for an aesthetic? FD Signifier, in his video, he referred to jester's privilege. And jester's privilege is when a platform allows themselves to be critiqued on their own platform to undercut the actual critique itself. So a king allowing his court jester to make fun of him so that he can laugh and not take it seriously. But if someone from outside of the court criticized the king, they would take it seriously, right? So is this happening with this performance? Personally, I don't think so, based on the responses from the fans and from non-fans. I'm seeing more conversations about what is 40 acres and a mule and what are these rigged systems that Kendrick's talking about, rather than people calling Kendrick a hypocrite for being at the Super Bowl in the first place. But at the same time, while I feel the message is getting across, did Kendrick Lamar actually stand to lose anything by doing this performance, right? Doing the Super Bowl, your visibility is the highest it's ever going to be. You're going to get more streams, more album sales, more social media followers, this, that, and the third, right? He's got a tour coming up. This is going to help sell out that tour. So he really only stood to gain from this performance, whether he did what he did, whether he did a greatest hits compilation. I think even if he took it further and did more radical lyrics and more radical songs in his catalog, I still think he stood to gain. Whereas if you compare that to when Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their fists at the Olympics, they got blackballed, their medals taken away. I think one of them, their wife divorced them. Like, they stood to lose a lot when they did their protests. So is this on equal footing? In fact, we don't even have to take it that far. I just remember this is the NFL we're talking about. Colin Kaepernick got blackballed for protesting police brutality. He was taking the knee during the national anthem, which, by the way, was an idea from a Green Beret who told him that was more respectful than sitting during the national anthem. But if Colin Kaepernick can get blackballed just a couple years ago, and now you're performing for that same company on their stage, what does that say? But at the same time, I think Kendrick Lamar has a privilege, and he's using that privilege of having this platform to be thought-provoking, knowing that he's not going to face those same consequences. Let's talk about some of the symbols Kendrick Lamar uses in the performance, starting with Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is the personification of American patriotism. And it's interesting that Kendrick had him played by Samuel L. Jackson, who, if you know anything about his background, when he was at Morehouse College, he staged a sit-in and got expelled from the school. So he has a history of radical protest, and he's portraying American patriotism. The setup of the field, the 4 different stages, they were all video game buttons, like of a PlayStation controller. And the sequence that the buttons lit up before the performance started was the full health and armor cheat code from GTA. And then also the lights in the crowd says stuff like a loading bar, warning wrong way, game over. And then Uncle Sam's commentary was about playing the game. The red, white, and blue, that one's pretty obvious. America. On top of that, you got Bloods and Crips. On top of that, you got Republicans and Democrats. It reminds me on Hood Politics on To Pimp a Butterfly when Kendrick Lamar said, "Ain't nothing new but a slew of new Democrats and Republicans, red state versus a blue state, which one you govern?" On top of that, the white could represent his dead homies. Now let's get into the performance. Instead of kicking the performance off with a song that we all know, he kicks it off with a song that none of us know. He kicks it off with a snippet, whether you want to call it Tiramisu or Bodies. Why would you do that? To me, it tells me that you need to pay attention to the words that he's going to say. That's the most important part of this. When I go through the lyrics, he says things like, 20 years in, still got that pen dedicated to bare hard truth. The etiquette speak with a vigilant tongue. The predicate this time is fuck you. I gotta say some real shit. Cannot spare your feelings. I'm carrying heavier hearts right now. I can power lift with Olympians too. I'm carrying various darts right now. I desert this bitch like tiramisu. I got a lot of ammo and I'ma clear this out. See, we go body for body. I hand you a body, I'm probably a better masseuse. I really don't bother nobody, but they run it by me if I gotta clear out the room. That's a reference to the beef. You would not get the picture if I had to sit you for hours in front of the Louvre. That reminds me of Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe when he says, how can I paint this picture when the colorblind is hanging with you? He says, you would not have a soul even if I told you to stand next to Johnny and Q. Johnny is J-Rock, Q is Schoolboy Q. You would not have a soul. Ab-Soul, they're members of Black Hippie. But that also reminds me of, in Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, he says, look inside of my soul and you can find gold and maybe get rich. Look inside of your soul and you can find out it never exists. So I think Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe really relates to this song. He says, started with nothing but government cheese, but now I can seize the government too. We came from poverty, and now we're in a position where we can make radical change. Remember, the food stamp color was tan and brown, but now the honey is blue. Remember, I said I'm the greatest back when you debated the number 1 and number 2. Topic was always hilarious to me. You carried them to me. I brought out the broom. So again, he's talking about the beef. J. Cole handed Drake to Kendrick on the silver platter. And then Kendrick Lamar says, the revolution will be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy. And the revolution will be televised is a reference to the song The Revolution Will Not Be Televised by Gil Scott-Heron. And the rest of that line to me is talking about it's the right time to choose a rapper to headline the Super Bowl. Hip hop's the most popular genre, the most listened to genre. And after the Kendrick and Drake beef, all eyes are on the biggest rappers. But he said, you picked the wrong guy because I'm here to make a statement. So then we circle back to the revolution will not be televised. Gil Scott-Heron has a lyric where he says, the revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruption. Now, if you look at the stage for the Super Bowl, there's 4 parts to the stage. There was no commercial interruption. And I want to say it was sponsored by Apple Music. So, parallels. After that statement, they played the song Squabble Up, which is a dance song. And Squabble Up means let's fight. So, this could be Kendrick talking about revolution, fighting for our rights, fighting for our freedom. And some of the lyrics of the song are street raps. The dancers were dancing wild. And then Uncle Sam comes in and says, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up. Now, what Uncle Sam was speaking to is respectability politics. So, for a black man to make it in America, you have to act a certain way. You have to make sure that you don't say, do, sound like, or express certain things, because that will be used to write you off automatically, right? A good example would be our hair. For a long time in America, the way our hair naturally grew out of our head was considered unprofessional. And you could get written off from a job. You could get kicked out of school. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's lawsuits still active right now in Texas over kicking kids out for having locks in their head. Right? So to play the game, to make it in America, you got to be clean cut. You got to be docile. You got to be a good Negro. After that, the dancers get into an American flag formation that looks like it's separated. Kendrick Lamar's in the middle and he performs Humble. And then they get off of the steps and Kendrick Lamar performs DNA. Now, one would think that he's playing the game, right? Humble is his biggest song. DNA is like one of his 5 biggest songs. But at the same time, they're still loud and ghetto, if you read the lyrics. And then after that, he performs Euphoria, which is a diss track, and it's also loud. At the end, he changes the lyrics, but I can't really fully tell what he's saying. He says, I know y'all play Seat, but since something, it's KDOT. Still can't figure out what he said. After Euphoria, Kendrick Lamar does Man at the Garden. He performs it under a street light with guys in white shirts behind him, nobody in red, nobody in blue. And on top of each of the street lights is a guy in a white shirt. Now, Kendrick Lamar said on a song that he done lost plenty friends, 16 to be specific. And if you count the number of guys in white shirts in that scene, it's 10 people behind him, 1 guy at the top of the street light. And then there's 5 other street lights with somebody on top. So that's 16 friends. Now let's talk about Man at the Garden a little bit. I saw a video of a guy saying that he believes that the garden is a graveyard, right? So the 16 friends. I've also seen people say that the garden is the Garden of Eden. I think it's the Garden of Gethsemane in the Bible. So the Garden of Gethsemane is where Jesus went with the disciples, and it was where he prayed and cried out to God before getting arrested by the Romans to be crucified, because he knew what was going to happen. Jesus goes from sorrow and distress while praying in the garden to eventually coming to acceptance and just walking up to the police to arrest him. And to me, that's like Kendrick Lamar on the song Man at the Garden, where in the first verse, he's talking about materialistic things. In the second verse, he's talking about his intentions. And in the beginning of the third verse, he's talking about what he wants for his family. It's like focused on them. And then the end of the song, he's like, I deserve it all. I'm the greatest of all time. So it's like he's coming to acceptance of who he is. After Man at the Garden, Uncle Sam comes up and says, oh, you brought your friends, the old cultural cheat code, scorekeeper, deduct 1 life. Now, this can be taken a couple of ways. You can take it as the government taking our leaders when we come together. So the government killing Fred Hampton or killing MLK, right? Or you could look at it as an Easter egg talking about XXXTentacion. Now, me personally, I never believed the Drake XXXTentacion murder connection because I don't think Drake's got it in him. But there are some coincidences, and I don't like coincidences. So XXXTentacion, he had the Helping Hand Challenge. Drake did that in God's Plan. People say that Drake was mocking XXXTentacion because he went to Florida to go do that. And the sample that's in Peekaboo before the beat drops is give a helping hand. So there's that connection. On top of that, they performed Peekaboo in the X stage on the at the Super Bowl. On top of that, the song Peekaboo connects to Silent Hill because on Silent Hill, Kendrick Lamar said, Peekaboo can't hide behind your money, dog. And in the beginning of the song, he said, why you keep fucking with me? You gonna make me jump out my skin, believe me. So was he talking to Drake during that? And then he talks to the ladies that sound like they're from King Kunta. He says, I want to make a move. I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they like to sue. And then they tease not like us. After that, the crowd lights say warning, wrong way. And then Uncle Sam says, oh, you done lost your damn mind. And then SZA comes out and they perform Luther and All the Stars. And then Uncle Sam comes back and says, that's what I'm talking about. That's what America wants. Almost there. Just don't mess this up. So after he got the warning that he was going the wrong way, he decides to conform a little bit and do the palatable, soft songs, Luther and All the Stars. And Uncle Sam's like, yeah, that's what we want. We want you to be a well-behaved Negro. We don't want you causing any trouble. We don't want you being loud. And then Not Like Us cuts him off. And then Kendrick Lamar gets into another freestyle. He says, it's a cultural divide, I'm gonna get it on the flow. 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. So let's break that down. It's a cultural divide. Politically, racially in America right now, this has been the most polarized that we've been in a long time. The Overton window has shifted. So there is a big cultural divide right now. Then he says, 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. 40 acres and a mule is an unfulfilled promise of reparations that, you feel me? It was briefly given to us and taken right back from us after, I want to say, Abraham Lincoln got assassinated. Andrew Johnson was the next president and he rescinded that order. So Black Americans have unpaid, unclaimed reparations that we deserve. And then he says they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. To me, when he says rig the game, that's about what America has done to Black people to keep us down as a whole. And I wrote down a list. This is not a comprehensive list. There's more that you can add to it. But you go from slavery, Black codes, sharecropping. We hardly benefited from the Homestead Act because of racism. Then you got massacres of our towns and Black Wall Streets. You got Jim Crow laws, redlining, racial segregation. We were excluded from benefits of the GI Bill, even though a lot of Black men fought in the wars. Bank loan discrimination, COINTELPRO from the FBI, police brutality, war on drugs, mass incarceration, etc. Like, there's even more. All of that, and yet Black people can still influence culture, still influence thought and conversation. All of that, and rap music is still the most listened to art form, and it creates conversation. Kendrick Lamar said on Black Friday, nothing more influential than rap music. And he also said this during his Grammys acceptance speech.
This is what it's about, man, because at the end of the day, nothing more powerful than rap music. I don't care what it is. We are the culture. It's gonna always stay here and live forever. And to the young artists, like my man Punch say, I just hope you respect the art form. That's all. Respect the art form, get you where you need to go. All right, salute. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all.
Then after he does the freestyle, he finally performs Not Like Us. It's crazy. He says Drake's name. He says everybody's name. He got Serena Williams dancing in the background. Ha ha ha, fuck Drake. And then he finishes the performance with TV off. And I think that this is the closest that we're gonna get to a call for action from this performance, because it's essentially saying, you heard what I had to say, turn the TV off and participate. Turn the TV off and do something. Turn the TV off and get outside. And then at the end of TV off, the lights in the crowd say game over. So you can take that to mean, ha ha ha, fuck you, Drake, game over, you lost the beef. But you got to remember that this is all in the context of the great American game. This is bigger than just Drake. So at the beginning of the game, he does the unreleased and he does Squabble Up. Uncle Sam gets upset at him for being too loud, too ghetto. But then he finishes the performance with two loud songs, Not Like Us and TV Off. So he finishes the game playing by his rules. Now, in the rest of my notes that I took, I tried to find other ways that Uncle Sam is significant to Kendrick Lamar. So I went back into Pimp a Butterfly. On Wesley's theory in the second verse, Uncle Sam is offering a lot of things to Kendrick, trying to get him to be enticed. And then on the outro to For Free, the woman says, I'm gonna call Uncle Sam on you, you ain't no king. So Uncle Sam has been a point of opposition to Kendrick Lamar and to black people in his music before. If you look at the Super Bowl announcement, when Kendrick Lamar puts the football on the thing that launches the football, you're in training for the great American game. And on top of that, the backdrop to the Super Bowl announcement is inspired by Spike Lee's Chirac. And then I want to tie in songs like Watch the Party Die and Savior. So in Watch the Party Die, Kendrick Lamar has lyrics like, if you parade in gluttony without giving truth to the youth, the graveyard is company, just tell us which casket to choose. So he's saying that you gotta give some kind of message regardless of what you do, because there's truth that needs to be told, truth that needs to be heard. He has lyrics like, God give me life, dear God, please give me peace. Dear God, please keep these lame niggas away from me. Dear God, keep me shining, the fuck do they really think? And Kendrick Lamar wore a shirt underneath his jacket that says, keep them away from me. And then he also has lyrics that say, they wonder why I'm not enthused to drop. The more visible you get, the more your spiritual is tried. So again, that's another keep them away from me. And if you listen to Man at the Garden, he also says, keep these bitch niggas away from me. On Savior, Kendrick kicks it off with, Kendrick made you think about it, but he is not your savior. And then in the verses, he says, bite they tongues and rap lyrics, scared to be crucified by the song, but they won't admit it. Politically correct is how you keep an opinion. Niggas is tight-lipped, fuck who dare to be different. Now, while I don't think Kendrick bit his tongue because he got his message across, I still feel like he could have gone further, right? He has songs where he says, fuck Trump. He has songs where hood politics, Democrats and Republicans, right? That are a little bit more on the nose that I think he could have done that would have still got his message across. Also, he performed all right at the Dr. Dre Super Bowl, I believe. So it's cool that he didn't perform that again. But when he did that, he censored himself when he said, and we hate Popo, want to kill us dead in the streets for show. He censored that. So I do feel like some of that criticism does apply to Kendrick as well. On Savior, he goes on to say, the cat is out the bag, I am not your savior. I find it just as difficult to love thy neighbors. So I'm a human too. I'm not perfect. I can't save everybody. Then he says, independent thought is like an eternal enemy. Capitalist posing as compassionist be offending me. SMD with authenticity. So a lot of people are pretending to care, but they're really just capitalist opportunists, right? And that's a criticism that I've seen people levy against Kendrick Lamar. He doesn't feel that way about himself though, so that's interesting. Then he says, Tupac dead, gotta think for yourself. Heroes looking for the villains to help. So like, we're the heroes and we're looking to people like Kendrick, we're looking at the celebrities and rappers and all these people to save us when we need to come together and save ourselves. And then he goes on to say, I rub elbows with people that was for the people. They all greedy. I don't care for no public speaking. And they wonder where I've been, protecting my soul in the valley of silence. So he's like, I've been around these people that claim they care. They really don't. And it disgusts me. And I'd rather be ducked off and helping people in silence. That's Kendrick Lamar's stance. Ultimately, I think Kendrick Lamar put on a great performance. Was it the greatest Kendrick Lamar show ever? No, I think the pop out was. Was it the most radical message ever? No, I think he could have gone further. But I also don't think it was bubblegum. I don't think it was sugarcoated. I think that Kendrick Lamar's goal is being accomplished and that it's creating conversation and it's pushing us in that direction. I think that in a couple years, this performance is going to be appreciated for the attention to detail. Every performance in the immediate aftermath is considered the worst of all time. They said it last year with Usher. They said it with Rihanna's performance. We already knew that it was going to be hated on by Drake fans. It was going to be hated on by conservatives. We already knew it was going to get hated on. But it's breaking records. Kendrick Lamar's music is doing crazy numbers. And I'm seeing a lot of people have conversations that they weren't having before. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on episode 5 of 99 Till Infinity.